Hi everyone, and welcome to the Stitch Sessions. I hope you're having a great day, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. I'm Karen. I love everything crochet and crafty. So in today's tutorial, we are going to work on these sweet little baby booties, and this is one of the most basic baby booty patterns. There's so many different ways to make baby booties, and if you've been following me along, you know that recently I said I've got quite a few babies coming up into my life in the next little while, so you're going to be seeing a few more baby projects coming along the way. So we're going to start you off today with this really sweet booty, and it's got this sweet little bow embellishment. Very quick and fairly easy to do. We just use the half double crochet stitch, and we start with the sole and then we come up around. We do a few little decreases in the front here, but if you just take it nice and slowly, follow it step by step, you will be a-okay. So let's get talking about the materials that we're going to use for today's tutorial. Okay, so let's talk about firstly the yarn that we're going to use. So for these booties that I've made here, I used the Flex yarn by Loops and Threads, and the color, in case you're wondering, is called Salmon. And I really like this yarn. It's nice and soft. It is 79% acrylic and 21% polyester. It's a medium 4-weight yarn, and it's lovely and soft and all that wonderful stuff. The only thing I would say about this yarn is it does become, and I don't know if you can see it here on camera, it is quite splitty. So you can see it's kind of loosely spun, and it can catch on your hook quite a bit. So that's the only thing I would say is kind of annoying about this yarn. But other than that, it's so squishy and soft and lovely, and it comes in so many different colorways. You can find this at Michael's. Now, for this tutorial, I am not going to use this yarn because it's got these flecks in it. I feel like for the tutorial, it would be very distracting for teaching you how to create this booty. So since I'm actually making this for a set of twins, I am going to use another color for the other child. And that's the color I'm going to use for the tutorial. So this one is a beautiful light green, kind of like a sagey green. And this is actually some leftover yarn from the Wedge Shawl project. So if you haven't checked that out, I will leave a link for that in the description box down below. So this is Lion Brand's Heartland yarn, and I am a super big fan of this yarn. It is also very soft and lovely, very easy to work with. It does not split, and it glides on the hook very easily. It's also a medium 4-weight yarn. So that's the yarn I'm going to be using. And now the hook size I'm going to be using is a smaller hook. These yarns are recommending, both of these yarns are recommending a size 5mm hook, but I am opting for a 4mm hook, which is also known as a G or a size 5, I believe. And the reason for that is because this is a booty, I want the stitches to sit a little bit more tightly. And it will also affect the size of your booty. So like I said at the beginning, there's many different ways to create a baby booty. And I know people are going to ask me about sizing. So this particular booty is for a 0 to 3 month old baby. So generally, they'll increase in the length of their sole by ½ inch, about approximately every 3 months. So general sizes are 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 9 months, and 9 to 12 months. And what you can do if you want to create a booty that's just slightly larger, because they grow so quickly, what some people opt to do is increase the hook size they use, but continue with the same pattern. So the pattern I'm going to show you today with the beginning chain count, some people will opt to just go for a larger hook size to create a slightly larger booty. I will also actually leave you a link to the booty size chart, and that just is going to give you the typical length of a child's foot, and you can find that on the crochetcrafty.com website. So That'll give you a little bit of a gauge of how you can increase the size of your booty. The other option is you can also go up in your yarn weight, but the only thing is I really wouldn't go more than a medium weight 4 because these booties are so small, it just gets increasingly difficult to kind of fit your hook in and do decreases and things like that. So a lot of people will do baby booties in a lightweight 3, a fine weight number 2, maybe even a super fine weight number 1 or a 0. So I would say anywhere between a 0 to a medium weight 4. That'll definitely give you some range in your size. Otherwise, continue to use the medium weight 4 and just increase your hook size. Again, that's for this particular style. The other thing that you will need if you want to add a little embellishment is a little bit of ribbon. Now I have tons of these ribbons because if you've ever bought a blouse or a top or anything like that or a dress, sometimes these ribbons come on the inside of the shirt. And I always just cut mine out, but I save them because I always figure I could probably use these ribbons for a particular project. So this is a great example of using this. So it's a very narrow ribbon. This I would say is probably maybe 1/8 of an inch across and approximately 12 to 14 inches in length. I did cut this one in half. So one of these gave me bows for both little booties here. So I would say for each booty, no more than about 6 inches, but that all depends on how big you want to make your bow. So there you go. The other thing, as always, make sure that you have a pair of scissors and a darning needle to sew any ends at the end. Now, let's get started on our booty. Okay, so we're going to construct our booty from the sole, the bottom, and then work our way around, working our way up through the cuff and to the end there. Okay, so we're going to start off with the center of the sole. Okay, so we're going to begin by placing a slip knot on our hook. And then we're going to proceed to chain up a total of 9 chains. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So you're going to have something that looks like this. And like I said, we're going to be using half double crochets for this project. So what we're going to do now is we're going to find the second chain from the hook. Remember, you never count the loop that's on the hook. So we're going to count 1 and 2. And into that chain, we're going to place 3 half double crochets. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook. So 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3. And now I'm going to do 2 more. So I have second one back into that same stitch and a third one right back into that stitch there. Just like that. Okay. Now what we're going to do is into the next 6 stitches, we're just going to place 1 half double crochet into each chain. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, just like that. And now we've got 1 chain left. Into that last chain, we are going to place 6 half double crochet stitches. So you're going to yarn over, insert. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you can see that chain is super stretched out because there's a lot of stitches in there. We're not going to worry too much about that. We can always cinch that in later. So now you can see that those 6 half double crochets helped us to create a nice little rounded edge here. So now we're going to work along the bottom of our chain row. Okay, so into each of the next 6 stitches, we are going to place 1 half double crochet. So it should be technically on the bottom of the previous stitches. So right there, that is the next stitch there. So I'm going to place 1, and I'm just going to try and work over my tail there. And there's 2. And there's 3. And there's 4. And there's 5. And there is 6. Okay, now I'm coming up to that last chain, and remember we placed 3 half double crochets into that stitch. Well, we need to place 3 more. So you're going to yarn over and insert. So we have 1, just going to leave that tail now, and 2, oops, and 1 more gives us 3. Okay, and now I'm going to find the top of that very first stitch we created. Which is actually right there, and I'm going to slip stitch to join my round. And there we've completed round 1 of our sole. Okay, so you now will have a total of 24 stitches all the way around. So your ends, so to speak, are going to always have 6 stitches, and your sides are always going to have 6 stitches in between each tip, so to speak. So now we're going to go on to round number 2. So for round number 2, we're going to chain 1. And in this case, anytime we chain 1, it will not count as a stitch. Okay. So what we're going to do now is right back into that same stitch here, we are going to place 2 half double crochets. So we have 1, and 2 right back into that same stitch. Okay, like that. Now we're going to go into the next stitch and also place 2 half double crochets. So right there, 1 and 2. And then into the next stitch, we are also going to do the same thing. So these first 3 stitches are going to get 2 stitches each. And this is what helps our toe and our heel round out nicely. Just like that. Okay, now what we're going to do is into each of the next 6 stitches again, we are going to place 1 half double crochet. Okay, and now into each of the next 6 stitches, which is going to take us around one end of our booty, you want to place 2 half double crochets into each of the next 6 stitches. So we have 1 and 2. That's in the first stitch. Now we're going to go into the second stitch and do 2. And you're going to continue doing that for each of the next 4 stitches. Okay, so I've finished each of my 6 with 2 half double crochets in there, and now I'm down my side again. So that means I'm going to place a 1 half double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. So you can see we're working with sets of 6s on all sides. So we have 1, 2, and 6. And now we should have 3 stitches left. So we have 1, 2, and 3. This, be careful there, that's a false stitch because that's where we slip stitched and chained 1 out of. And these 3 stitches are going to match these 3 on the other side. So we're back to using increases again. And into each of these 3, we're going to place 2 half double crochets into each one. So there is the second one. Okay, now we're going to place 2 into the next one. 1 and 2. And the last stitch right there, we're going to place 2 half double crochets. And now, see, that might look like a stitch. It is not. You're just going to skip over that and into the top of your very first stitch, which is right here. We're going to insert our hook and we are going to slip stitch to join. Just like that. And that is the end of round number 2. And at the end of round 2, you should have a total of 36 stitches all the way around. And we're now going to move on to round number 3, the last round of our sole. So to begin round number 3, you will chain 1 again. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the very next stitch. So we're not going to go into there, we're going to go to the next stitch. And we are going to place 1 half double crochet. Just like that. And then into the next stitch, we're going to place 2 half double crochets. So there's 1 and there's 2. And into the next one, we're going to place 1 half double crochet and then 2 half double crochets. So there's 1 and there is 2. And then we're going to do this pattern one more time, placing 1 half double crochet into the next stitch and then 2 half double crochets into the following stitch. So we've repeated this a total of 3 sets, okay? So remember, this is 1/2 of the curve here, and then when we come back around, we're going to do the other 3 sets of pattern on the other side. So now what we have is our typical 6 stitches going down the side of our sole. So we're just going to go and place 1 half double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we have our 6 increases, which gives us 12 stitches going around. So what we're going to do is into the next stitch, we're going to place 1 half double crochet, and then into the next stitch, we're going to place 2 half double crochets. So you are going to repeat this a total of 5 more times to give us a total of 6 of these repeats. So I've already done 1 into 1 stitch, 2 into the next, and then I'm going to do it again. 1 into 1 stitch, 2 into the next stitch, back into that same stitch. Okay, so now I've repeated this twice, 2 sets of these. Now I'm going to do my 3rd set, 1 half double crochet into 1, and then 2 half double crochets into the next. So I think you get the drift. So now you're going to repeat the next 3 sets until you get to the other side here. So 1, 2 stitches, 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 1 stitch, 2 stitch, and that'll take you to the other side there. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back here in a moment. Okay, so I've just come around there. So I've done those 6 sets of increases. And now I'm going to do 1 half double crochet into each of the next 6 stitches to go down the other side of my booty here. So we have 1, 2, and 6. Okay. There we go. So now I actually have 6 stitches left, because remember we did an increase into these 3 stitches, and so I call them 3 sets because I still want to think of it as 3 stitches, although I have 6 stitches here. So for these 3 sets, I'm going to do what we did here and what we did back here. And that is, I'm going to place 1 half double crochet into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets into the following stitch, 1 and 2, and then I'm going to repeat that again. Into the next stitch, I'm going to place 1 half double crochet. Into the next stitch, I'm going to place 2 half double crochets. And now I've got 2 stitches left. Perfect. So 1 half double crochet into the next, and then 2 half double crochets into the following one. Okay. And then I'm going to find the top of that very first half double crochet stitch, and I am going to slip stitch to join. Just like that. And round number 3 is complete. And at the end of round 3, you should have a total of 48 stitches. So this completes the sole of our booty. And you might want to take the opportunity now to weave in the rest of this end. See, I wouldn't cut it off. I would actually use it to kind of sew in any gaps that I would not like to see. And if it's enough, this one probably might not be enough, I would then go in and just cinch this little gap in like that. Just a little sewing just to cinch in that gap. Now, the thing about booties, some people would snip off their yarn now, put this down, and do the second sole, which if you're doing things in different colors, I would definitely recommend you doing this. Because the thing about creating booties or 2 of anything, they are never exactly the same. And you can even see here that this one is slightly smaller than this one, even though I did the exact same stitch count and used the exact same yarn and hook. So why does this phenomenon happen with crochet or even knitting? And that is because our gauge does vary as we crochet. So like, let's say I did this, I finished the whole booty, I put it down, and then the next day I came back and did the second booty. The way you work your hands as you crochet, sometimes we tighten as we go along, sometimes we loosen as we go along, or sometimes we start off loose, go tightly. And so that's why your booties will never look perfectly the same. So a lot of people would recommend do 1 sole, put it down, then do the next sole, put that down, and then come back and finish the rest of the booty, and then the rest of the booty. So it's kind of like you're evening out the way your hand is changing its tension. So, and I'm a big fan of doing that. However, because I am actually not going to change colors, I really don't want to snip my yarn off. I am just going to continue with this one booty, and it will be what it will be. And you know what? This is the beautiful thing about handmade items. That's what makes them so unique. Okay, so I'm going to continue on here. We're now going to work the upper part of our booty. And so all we're going to do now is we're going to chain 1. Remember that chain 1 never counts as a stitch. And for this round, which is going to be round number 4, we're simply going to place 1 half double crochet into every single stitch all the way around. No increases here. There is one slight difference that is going to happen, and that is that we are going to work into the back loops of these stitches. So normally we would work into the full stitch, but we are going to work into the back loop here. Okay, so I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go, because I slip stitched here, I'm going to go right into this next one here. I'm going to go into the back loop, and I like to go right down into the back of that stitch, pick up a loop. Okay, so it's still a half double crochet, yarn over and pull through all 3. Now I'm generally not a tight crocheter by nature, but for booties I like to kind of make sure that they sit a little bit more snugly, so I am being purposefully a little bit tighter with my stitches for this project. So I'm going to go into the next stitch, into the back loop only, okay, and half double crochet. I'm going to do one more into the back loop only, insert my hook, and half double crochet. So by working into the back loops, see this, there's a little tiny ridge that's forming here, and that will really give your sole the definition from the rest of the booty. So you can see here, when it's finished, it really creates a defined edge around the sole of the shoe. Okay, so I will leave you to do that. 1 half double crochet into each stitch, and you should still end up with 48 stitches at the end of round number 4. Okay, and I'm just slip stitching into the very last, or the very first stitch I should say, and round number 4 is complete. So now you can really see that ridge coming out just like that. Okay, so now we're going to go on to round number 5. Whoops. And this is where we're going to start to decrease or curve up to create the little edge there of our toe. So every time we join around, I'm considering this the heel of the booty, so we are not going to start creating some decreases until we get to the toe of our booty. So here is what's going to happen next. We currently have 48 stitches. So from the back to the front, we will always work 12 stitches to get us to the front portion, which is going to be right about there. That's where our toe area is. So we're always going to have 12 from the front to the back on this side and 12 from the front to the back on that side. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to take you through. So to begin round number 5, we're going to chain 1 as usual. Okay. And then right back into that stitch, we're going to place a half double crochet, and now we're just going to be working into the regular stitches. We're not going to be working into the back loops only. So we have 1, and now I'm going to work into that regular stitch, 2. So keep doing this until you've done 12 stitches with 1 half double crochet. Okay, so I've done 12 half double crochet stitches, and now we're going to begin our sets of decreases. So what we're going to do is we're going to place 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. So there's 1. And now we're going to decrease the next 2 stitches together. So we're going to insert our hook into the next one and pull up a loop. And then you're just going to immediately go into the next stitch and pull up a loop. So you're now going to have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through all 4. And what that does, it brings these 2 stitches together as one. Okay, so you've got 1 half double crochet into 1 stitch and then stitch the next 2 together. You are going to repeat this pattern for a total of 8 times. Okay, so that was the first set. So I'm going to do the second set. So I have 1 half double crochet, and now I'm going to put the next 2 stitches, or I'm going to bring the next 2 stitches together, 1, and then I insert 2 and pull up a loop. So that is my second set done. So what I would recommend actually is to maybe place a stitch marker here just to help you remember how many of these sets that you've done. And this is probably the only row that might get a little tricky because there's a lot of them. Okay, so I just grabbed a little pin here. So I'm going to go back. So this was a decrease, this was a regular one, this was a decrease, this was a regular one. So this is where I'm going to place this stitch marker. So you're going to repeat this, like I said, a total of 8 times. And at the end, once you get to the other side, you should then have a total of 16 stitches, okay? Because right now we are currently working with 24 stitches around. So remember I had said from the heel, you're counting 12 on this side. From this heel, you're counting 12 on this side. This leaves us with 24 stitches to work, right? So when you're decreasing into every second stitch, that's then going to leave you with 16 stitches. So go ahead and do your 8 sets of decreases, and I'll meet you on the other side. Okay, so I've completed my 8 sets around, and I have 16 stitches. Let me just take that out. So I now have 16 stitches from this marker here. Okay, you can see it's curling up nicely, just like we wanted to do. So now all that's left is we've got to come back to the heel, and so we should have 12 stitches left, which I know I do. And all you're going to do is you're going to place 1 half double crochet into each stitch for the next 12 stitches, which should take you to the heel. And so I'm finishing my last 12 stitches here. Okay, and at the very end here, I'm going to find the top of that very first double crochet. And I'm just going to slip stitch to join. Just like that. Okay, and round number 5 is complete. Okay, and at the end of round 6, you should have 40 stitches in total. So now let's move on to round number 6. We're going to begin, as always, by chaining 1. Then you're going to yarn over and go back into that very first stitch. Place a half double crochet. You're going to continue to do that into each of the next 11 stitches. Remember, we always go up 12 stitches from the heel. So 2 and 12. And of course, that takes me right back up to that stitch marker. So now for our increases, so now we're back up to the toe portion. We are going to decrease into every 3rd stitch. So that means we're going to place 1 half double crochet into the next, 1 half double crochet into the next, and then the next 2 will get decreased down, okay? So we're going to do that for a total of 4 sets this time. So we had done 8 sets, and now we're going to do 4 sets. So I'm just going to take this marker out for a moment, and I'm going to place 1 half double crochet into that one. I'm going to replace my marker. That just helps me know when to start my decreases. Okay, so I've done 1. I need to do a second one. Okay, and now I'm going to decrease the next 2 stitches together. So I have 1 and 2, just like that. Okay, so 1, 1, decrease 2. You're going to do that for a total of 4 sets. So that means I have 3 more sets to go. I'm going to go into the next one. Place a half double crochet into the next one, place a half double crochet, and then the next 2 I will decrease. 1, 2, and bring them together. Okay, and again, I'll do them all with you guys since I'm here. So we have 1, 2, and then decrease the next 2 together. just like that. So I've done 3 sets. Now I've got 1 more set. I'm going to go 1 half double crochet into the next one. So the second one, and the last decrease will be here. So I insert and decrease. Okay, so now I should have 12 stitches that are forming the top of my toe part. So I previously had 16 and now I'm down to 12. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're just going to go down the side and to the heel. So you know what that means? Just the last 12 stitches here is going to get 1 half double crochet. So I will leave you to do that and I'll meet you at the end of round 6. Okay, so I have completed round 6 and I have a total of 36 stitches now. So remember, we're decreasing down. And my shoe is looking, it looks like a little slipper, very cute. So my booty is looking like this, and now we're going to move on to round 7. We've got another 2 rounds of decreases. So let's go on to round number 7 here. Okay, so round number 7 begins by chaining 1. And we always start with those first 12 half double crochets. So right back into that same stitch. And a half double crochet, and then 1 into each of the next 11 stitches. And this is my 12th, and here's my marker again. So now we're going to start our decreases around the toe area. So I'm just going to take this out for a moment. And so this time we are going to place 1 half double crochet into the first stitch. And then we're going to decrease. So we're going to kind of repeat the decrease pattern we did for round number 5. And I'm just going to replace that original stitch marker right there. Okay, and so we are going to do this for 4 sets. So I've just done 1. So I'm going to go into the next one, which is 1 half double crochet. And now I'm going to decrease the next 2 together, insert, and then insert through. I'm going into the 3rd set, so 1 half double crochet and 1 decrease, pull up and pull up, and my last set. So I've got 1 and the decrease. So I had 12 stitches going around that toe area before, and now my stitch count should be 8. I'm ever so subtly decreasing in, and so now you can see that the booty is really kind of forming over the toe there. Okay, and then as always, we're going to head back to the heel, so we should have 12 stitches left. So we're just going to go ahead and place 1 half double crochet into each of the last 12 stitches. Okay, and at the end of round 7, I have a total of 32 stitches. So we're moving on to round 8 and the final round of our decreases. So we're going to begin as always. So chain 1. And we're going to place a half double crochet right back into that very first stitch. And then we're going to place, you know what to do, 1 half double crochet into each of the next 11 stitches to bring you up to your stitch marker. Okay, so we're at our stitch marker, and now we're going to do our last set of decreases. I'm just going to get rid of that marker there. So we're going to decrease the next 8 stitches to become 4. So that means we're going to go into the very next stitch and decrease that to the next one, just like that. So that is 1. And now we're going to decrease the next 2 into there, and that is 2 decreases. And now, see, this is where it starts to get a little bit tighter there. This is the next one. 1, 2. So there is the third decrease. And now I'm going to decrease the next 2. There is the fourth and final decrease. Okay, so you can really see that your shoe, if I just take this out, is really closed in quite nicely. Okay, and now we are just going to do the final 12 stitches to the end. You should be getting really good at this by now. So just continue on now, 1/2 double crochet into each of the last 12 stitches here, and then you'll slip stitch to join your round. Okay, so round 8 is complete, and I now have 28 stitches left, and that is where I'm going to end my decreases. So you can see the booty is taking shape very nicely. I can see my definite sole. And now what we're going to do, super easy, is we're going to just create the cuff here, okay? And we're simply just going to place 1/2 double crochet into each stitch all the way around. You're going to do that for a total of 5 more rounds. Now, some people would do only 4. So actually what I would recommend is just do an additional 4. See how you like it. See how it folds over. I ended up doing 5 just because I felt it just gave me a little extra bend here to roll over. Okay. And then I will end up with a total of 13 rounds in total. So as usual, all I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1. Now, because I'm not increasing anymore, I want to make sure that my seam doesn't move too much. So for this next round, I'm not going to go back into the very same stitch. I'm actually going to go just into the next stitch. So I'm going to ignore that chain 1 for now. And I will just 1/2 double crochet, 1 stitch into each stitch all the way around. Okay. When I come back to here, because this chain 1 I'm going to ignore, I will go into that fake stitch. Remember I said that's not really a stitch? Well, because I kind of chained 1 and went into the next stitch, that is going to need a stitch, okay? So I will alternate that. So in this round, I will chain 1 and go right away into the next one, and then come back at the end and stitch into it. In the following round, I will chain 1, but then stitch right back into that stitch. So hopefully that makes sense. So the idea is that this little seam, see how if you look really closely, you can see it's kind of leaning. But by alternating, if I start in the stitch or beside the stitch every other row, it then just jogs back and forth and it becomes a lot more uniform. That's just a little tidbit. If you're a little bit more experienced and want to hide your seam, that's kind of what I do. If you're super new and this is just like, what the heck is she talking about? Do not worry about it, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter and it's still going to look fantastic. So I'm going to leave you now to finish the next 5 rows on your own. It's really straightforward. 1/2 double crochet into each stitch, slip stitch to join, chain 1, begin again, and you're going to do this for a total of 4 or 5 rounds until you get the height of the cuff that you like. Okay, I've completed my 5 rounds, and so it looks like this. So my booty's pretty much done. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to snip my yarn. Whoops. And then I'm just going to pull that through, and I'm going to weave in my end here. Okay, so here it is, my completed booty. So I did an additional 5 rounds for the cuff. So that's going to give me a total of 13 rounds. And now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it down. Still have to weave in my end there. And your booty is complete. Now, if you wanted to, you could leave it up like that if you want. But to me, it just doesn't look finished. So let me just get this tail, just get that tail out of the way there. So now I just fold the cuff down and you have a booty, except we have one more final touch, and that is adding our little bow tie here. Now you can do whatever you want. You can add a button even if you like. You can kind of make it your own that way. So I just thought I'm going to put these ribbons to good use. Okay, so I'm just going to relatively find the center, and I'm going to go in right around there. And I'm using my hook just to kind of feed through the ribbon on one side and then on the other. And I'll just gauge there if it looks... No, it does not look centered. So I'm going to try this again. I'm going to go in on the other side. There we go. That looks a bit more centered. And now I'm just going to make a little knot. And I'm going to tie a bow. Now I'm using this particular technique just because it keeps the bow a little bit more even. But it is trickier to kind of maneuver your way around it. There we go. And I like the way the tails of the bow go up. I just think it just looks very, very cute. All you have to do now is create your second booty and you will have a finished set. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish my second one real quick, and I'll come right back to show you my final pair. And here you go, guys. Here is my second booty completed. So now I have a sweet little pair, and it's going to be perfect to match up with my other set, all ready to go for the pair of siblings that are on their way. Like I said, I have a friend of mine that is expecting twins, so this came in handy. So I hope you found that pretty straightforward and not too challenging and pretty quick to make. Now, as always, if you do have any detailed questions, please feel free to leave them for me in the comment box down below. You can also, as always, reach me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com if you just want to pop me an email. And come say hi to me. I'm on the socials. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. So if you like this tutorial and you'd like to see more of these types of projects, because I am going to do a few more baby things, please do give me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you press that subscribe button so you stay up to date every time I upload a new tutorial, which is every Wednesday morning. And be on the lookout because there will be a matching cardigan to these booties coming up sooner than later. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys, I hope you have an amazing day. Happy crocheting. Take good care of yourselves. Get out there and enjoy some sunshine as well. And I will see you all in next week's session. Bye-bye.